Is this mic on? It's on, and the mic is open, and we're welcoming in Brandon Davis, a good friend and the Interim Athletics Director at my alma mater, San Francisco State. It's a great time to bring him on because Division II athletics have been taking hits left and right pretty much for the last several years. More and more colleges deciding that athletics just aren't worth it, which means student athletes who can't or don't make it to the Division I level are losing opportunities to still have that special experience of being a student athlete. So we wanted to bring him on, and I wanted to talk about the NCAA, the NIL, and SF State, because they're stabilizing, and we're going to have Gator Athletics for a lot longer because of his efforts. So I'm going to open the mic, let him get anything off his chest, and then maybe we talk a little bit of Star Wars, big Star Wars guy, and of course, some dad advice. All right, Brandon, episode 2 of The Mic is Open, and as we're going here, we're starting this whole thing off with the mic is open. The floor is yours. Is there anything that's been bugging you, that's been grinding your gears that you need to get off your chest?
Not too much. I haven't had much sleep lately, so I guess we can blame our 1-year-old for that. I know we're going to talk about some dad stuff later, but she's teething right now, and A, she won't give up the pacifier, and B, she loves waking up in the middle of the night. And then she thinks it's time to party. So, yeah, it would be great if she could get to sleep sometimes.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I'm right there with you. We were just at nap time, and it was supposed to be 2.5 hours, and it was not 2.5 hours. So now we're deciding and scrambling how the night is going to go. So I know parents out there can relate to this, which is good, and all working dads and working moms. And we will get there. We are going to get to the dad stuff because I think there's probably always can be more podcasts about what dads can do better. So, hey, why don't we do that? But let's start with San Francisco State. You are the interim athletics director over there right now. Second stint there as being interim, correct? Like
yeah, the first. I don't know if the first one really counts as interim since it was only a month, but yeah, I've been interim since September now. So
that is what your bio says.
Real.
So you technically get it twice. So you should put it down there for anything. But yeah, it was a big year, I think, for Division II athletics, especially here locally when you had Sonoma State kind of close their doors to Division II, all their athletics, every single program. And over the last several years, Division II's been taking a hit seemingly every single year, more and more colleges closing up shop. And that means student athletes are not having that experience. San Francisco State was not immune to it. You guys are having to shut down a couple programs. They're no longer running. Baseball team just got done with their NCAA West Regional, and that was their last run. But overall, it sounds like things are going to progress well for you guys. And what was this year like, kind of balancing everything that went into this?
Yeah, it was gut-wrenching for all those reasons you just mentioned. Seeing colleagues and student athletes at Sonoma get impacted, and then in San Francisco Academy of Art, same thing. They closed shop for their athletics department, so a lot of friends there in that department. We obviously had our internal sports. Internally, we had our sports affected, so tough to see those coaches that we worked with, some only for a few months, some for nearly a decade, see them impacted. But yeah, we did have a lot of positives as well. The volleyball team, wrestling, baseball, softball all made postseason tournaments for the NCAA. Volleyball was a national runner-up. Wrestler had a national championship with Johnny Lopez, and baseball made their second regional run, and softball hosted their first ever regional. So really good stuff there. And then we needed to look to stabilize the department, so we had the work there that we did to get the student fee increased to that'll go into effect over the next 4 years, and that'll help to stabilize us hopefully for a decade or longer. So
really my understanding is understanding it's the student fee. It comes to about a tank of gas, right now, like that yearly increase. It's basically like a tank of gas, and that's going to be enough to kind of stabilize and ensure that SF State Athletics is going to be around to stay, which means, I think most importantly, like everyone knows about Division I, but it mostly means that these male and female athletes get a chance to continue their dreams and get an education at the same time.
Yeah, Division two's model is really life in the balance. So
Mhm.
it's about athletics and academics. Division three skews a little more academic based, and Division one, as we know, has become professional sports in a lot of ways. So really being able to go get your college degree and also be able to do something or continue to do something that you love at a high level is something that's really important for that.
How close did you feel like it was that the Gators were going to be no longer uh, running here in 12 months?
Yeah, I think at one point I was really worried. There were a lot of sleepless nights. Maybe I should have talked about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't had sleep on a number of levels. But yeah, I think there was a lot of worry when the other news broke. I think that uncertainty was just kind of something looming for everybody. We've seen other schools at Division One cut programs, knowing that they're going to have to change their model with the legislation coming out. But I think for us, it just once we were able to find a path forward, uh, knowing that we had the support of the campus community, the survey that showed that 79.9% of the students who took it were in favor of an athletics fee increase. So knowing that athletics is an important part of San Francisco State was huge.
Yeah. And, I'm alumni, class of 2011. And I always felt like the athletic program had an opportunity to be something great in this city where there's so many student athletes and there are so many different places that coaches can go to recruit. And there's so many great schools. And even on campus, I think if things got going in the right direction, there would be more support. So it was really great to see that the survey kind of backed that up. And I think you touched on it where Division two is about scholarship and academic as well as athletics. But how important is Division two athletics to the collegiate and college kind of experience?
Yeah, I think it plays a huge part, right? Only a small percentage of folks go Division One, and only a small percentage of that go professional. So for folks to think, "Oh, I'm going to college to get a scholarship," isn't really gonna, people aren't getting full rides left and right.
Right.
So when we say scholarship, we're thinking a few $100, maybe a few $1,000s towards an education. It's not going to cover their entire experience, but for folks who aren't able to afford that whole experience, it's a way of supplementing and creating opportunities for those who might not be as fortunate to do so otherwise.
Yeah, I think you hear scholarships, you think automatically Division one, and even at Division one level, once you get to the secondary sports, all those scholarships have to be divvied up. If they, let's say baseball Division one has 6 or 7 scholarships, those there's not very many players that are going to get full rides in the baseball atmosphere, even at Division one. So now, if you break that down, Division two, there's not very many player athletes that are there's probably none, right? None, no one's getting a full ride in Division two level, or is that safe to say?
Yeah, there's a few here and there, but I mean,
Mhm.
they're going to have to be an exceptional athlete.
Right.
So, yeah.
So the NCAA obviously is going through all the change at the Division One level. What can the NCAA do better for all levels of athletics?
Yeah, I think the transfer portal is a little out of control these days. They've got to figure that out. I saw there was a post by I think Kansas State volleyball bragging that they hadn't had any transfers over the last 2 semesters or 2 years or something. So I think when we're getting to the point that we're bragging that people aren't transferring, there's obviously an issue there. And something like 60 or 70% of student athletes who don't or who go into the transfer portal don't end up playing elsewhere. So there's a ton of kids who are like, "Hey, the grass is greener." Well, then they come to find out there's no grass.
Yeah.
So it's an unfortunate situation, and I think a lot of people think, "Oh, there's that money involved."
Yeah.
Again, thinking that top tier D1. So folks are like, "Oh, I can go get a better deal here without really doing the homework." So I
Well,
think
and then also,
that quarterback was a good example. The one who left recently at D1, and he went to another school and took less money to, to
Nico
yeah, Nico.
Iamaleava.
Yeah.
Went to UCLA. Yeah, I mean, he was making a lot of money at Tennessee,
Yeah.
but then I think that's all that other things that are happening is now each Division I football team, that is the Power Fours, I should say, is going to have a general manager, and
Right.
now it's all just going to be broken down into like professional athletics, like you're talking about. They're going to learn how to be pros beforehand, which can be good and bad, where you're not giving all these kids when they make it to the league millions and millions of dollars, and then some of them use it poorly. So maybe that's a good thing with the ones that are going to go to the league. They learn how to manage that money a little bit early on. But yeah, it's a whole different world, right? And before, you used to get a couple Division I kickbacks or whatever you want to. I don't know. Some people didn't like that term. Some people did. But either way, I don't think that even happens as often now for Division II, because the Division I players are expecting NIL.
Yeah. And, I think a lot of them come to that reality of realizing, oh, I'm not going to go pro in this.
Yeah.
Oh, I do still love the game. I want to be able to play. So, some folks are going to realize that, hey, Division II is a great model for them, but, they're going to have to come to that realization on their own a little bit.
Do you feel like the kids that are now in that spot and in your department with those student athletes, do you feel that a little bit more, that there is that more love of the game, because they could go out and try and sought after more money, or maybe get a back end of Division I at some program, go up a little bit, but if they stay, you generally realize that they just love sports and they love what they're doing, and the money would be great, but they can just go out and be who they want to be and still have that experience of being a student athlete.
Yeah, and it's the community too, right? The friendships they make, those relationships that they build with the coaches, with the athletic trainers, with the administrators. You could go into the training room and pretty much know everybody who's in there at any given day. And I don't think that's something that you would have at a bigger institution, right? We know folks on the different teams, and the different teams, the student athletes know each other. They know the coaches. They get to know everybody on campus. So,
did you think when they're like, all right, hey, you're going to be the interim AD, like this was this year you're going to walk into?
No, not at all. I knew there were budget issues. I didn't know to the extent of what was going to unfold for me. But it's been a challenge, and like I said, a lot of sleepless nights. But I think it's been rewarding too. I've gotten to know a lot more folks on campus because of the process, and I think I've gotten to know the student athletes a lot more, because we really needed them to really carry the torch, and they're the ones that people are fighting for. Sure, it's my job and our coaches and staff whose jobs were on the line, but it's really the experience of the student athletes that's important at the end of the day.
And where do you think overall the department is? It obviously coming off a banner year, one of the better years
Sure.
across the board you've had in a long time. If you take away having to, say goodbye to some colleagues and student athletes, which is tough, but on the field and on the court, it was a banner year. So where do you think SF State Athletics is right now?
Yeah, we've got the majority of our coaches, both head and assistant coaches, returning. So I think we have those roles filled, obviously by quality people who know how to get that job done. It's going to be rocky for a couple of years until everything kind of fleshes out the way we need it to. But I think we're going to stay competitive, and we're going to work our hardest to preserve that student athlete experience.
Are you getting more students out to games, or are you trying to, where do you feel like the engagement is on campus? I mean, it's just so difficult. I think people don't understand where, if you go to these smaller schools across the country, they're not in a major market, some of them that do really, really well with their fan experience, and they have a lot of people show up. But just in San Francisco, where we're talking, you can pretty much go to any athletic event. Like last weekend, you had the Valkyries debut, you had Bay FC, you have the Giants, you have the A's up in Sacramento if you want to go that way. But it's just, there's so much options for you. So I think it's harder to just get kids to buy into what's right in front of them.
Yeah, and people who are coming to San Francisco are coming because it's a major city. It's San Francisco. There's things to do, and it's not just sports, right? So, there's the arts, there's the sciences, there's all those other things. There's the food. Obviously, I think I saw San Francisco was just named like top food city again. So,
heck yeah.
Yeah, so there's all those things that people want to be able to experience in their 4 years here. And so it's difficult to say, Oh, like people are going to catch a game or two, but to say, "Hey, I'm going to catch every single game," that's a commitment, right? And so we understand that, and I think something that we recognized was people feel athletics brings value. It, it adds something to the school spirit and to life on campus, and folks might experience it differently these days. It's not, "Hey, I'm gonna be there every single Saturday," but they walk by and they see that buzz on campus, and they might go to a game or two, but they're not going to be able to make every single game because folks are just stretched so thin these days.
Yeah. All right. Well, as an alumni, there's one thing that I want to start a petition. Can we change the mascot? Can we get the mascot back to the Golden Gate as what it was way back when when the department first started? At some point along the line, I know there's a lot of myths, there's a lot of urban legends around how this got to gators, as in the animal. We got to get back. Brandon, we got to get back. It is one of my missions over I don't know, my lifetime, because I don't know how easy it's going to be, but to
Yeah, I don't
get
think
it
it's going
back
to be
to
very
the
easy.
Golden Gate.
Yeah, so it was the Golden Gators, right?
Yeah.
Gaters. And so a lot of the past logos used the Golden Gate with the gator, leaning against the bridge. But I think we have a new mascot or new looking mascot over
Yeah.
the past few years, Allie. People
Yes.
really love Allie, so I don't think Allie's going anywhere. But yeah, in a lot of our articles, we will reference Golden Gators with the ORS spelling, because yeah, like you said, it's caused so much confusion over the years. But I
Well,
think
just one of those things. It's like, all right, where do you see a gator? I mean, if you go down to, the Academy of Sciences, obviously you'll go catch one.
yeah.
But I just think, if some way, maybe we need to get the alumni pool to come up with a mascot to go with Allie. That's just the bridge. They just walk around together.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. But all right, so let's transition a little bit. I think, getting into your world is something, I've contemplated at times over my career, kind of getting into the athletics world. How did you get to what you're doing now? And I know you started at your alma mater, but was it always something where you kind of want to get into uh, college athletics management, or however you want admin, however you want to kind of classify it?
I don't know. I actually I went to school digital art, graphic design.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was going to work for a newspaper or a magazine, and then I was in college and those things were disappearing.
Yeah.
So I recognized that maybe that wasn't the right path for me. And I mean, I'm as far back as I can remember, I was working sporting events. When I was in grammar school, I knew how to keep the book for basketball. I knew how to do scoreboard and stuff. So they paid me to work the CYO games. And then in high school, I started out doing the sticks, doing the chains,
All
and
right.
then
Chain gang.
yeah. So and that was a volunteer thing. They'd get kids who were at the game to do it, but then they got you on the sideline, so it got you access, so you were closer to the action. And
Yeah.
somebody noticed that I was there like pretty regularly, talking about being at games regularly,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Hey, we need someone to do the scoreboard, and that job actually pays." And I was like, "Yeah, sign me up." So then I got to doing that, and then I did that for football, volleyball, basketball. Yeah, so really expanded that. Ended up being team manager in high school for basketball, and then I reached out to when I was looking at Dominican up in Santa Fe, where I went to school. Reached out to the basketball coach there, Bill Tressler, and he said, "Yeah, we could do a work study job." So part of my financial aid was doing that, and then ended up being team manager for the basketball team for all 4 years there. Tress actually came to San Francisco State my senior year, uh,
Okay.
and we played them here, which was I think actually the first game that I went on the road with at Dominican was to San Francisco State, ironically. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I ended up being team manager. The person who was doing sports info at the time left my senior year as well. So they didn't have anybody headed into August right before school. I had been the student assistant for that. So I said, I'm here. I can keep doing it since I've been doing the work. And
Yeah.
so we worked out a deal to have me do that as a student. and they actually offered me a job before I graduated. So then I did that, some marketing stuff, various roles at Dominican for about a decade, and then I came to SF State in 2017.
Yeah, and you talked about, the digital stuff, but that came in handy, right? Like you've always been pretty social media savvy when it's come to SF State, even back to Dominican. Like you knew there was an importance there, and so yeah, you're not using per se that direct, in that sense of your diploma and your degree, but it's helped you a lot in this way where you kind of figure out and know how to design good looking graphics, right?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely use, the visual identity stuff and, you know, stuff that is clean. I like to think that I do like clean and simple,
Yeah.
just to get the message across. So, the graphics, dating myself, but at Dominican, they didn't have an athletics website at the time. So part of that was, getting the company to roll that out, and then starting social media channels there. Twitter was new then, so Twitter doesn't exist technically, I guess now.
Yeah, it's the X.
Yeah. So just kind of doing those things and staying on top of that stuff helped down the road with what I'm doing now.
Well, it's not like your department's huge. Even no matter where you are in Division Two, it's like usually you, one other person, and then hopefully student helpers or student people who are interested in it. But you're doing all that stuff. Whereas when you go to the Division One level, even at a smaller Division One, there's at least probably 5 or so people within that department.
Yeah, they've got a designer just for football or just for basketball. Yeah. So we've got a pretty small staff. It's me, Kendrick, and a compliance, academics, business person. So we're pretty thin on terms of that, the overhead for administration, but we get a lot of work done.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then that's where your love for photography's come in, because I know you go out and you shoot games. You were someone who liked to do that, but you also went to A's, and that's where your love for photography came from, or you've always kind of just liked photography as a whole too?
Yeah, I was always into photography. I've had friends who were into it. Obviously, being an art major, had to take some photo classes. So again, it was kind of cool at the time. Digital photography was kind of new with when Canon had like the Rebel or whatever back then. So I used to take photos on vacation at Disneyland. I had it was called a Sony Mavica, and it took floppy disks. So really dating myself. Yeah.
Ooh,
back when
fancy.
when cargo shorts were popular, it helped because that gave me somewhere to put the floppy disks. So those held 1.4 megabytes, and I think you got like maybe 10 photos to a floppy disk, and then you had to switch it out. So
I'm pretty sure like cargo shorts are back. Like
they might be.
I don't know. I go around and I go on campus, or if you're on campus or at the mall or something, because we're right here by a mall. Like, see, I'm like, I thought cargo shorts were not cool, and I don't think I'd ever wear cargo pants, but maybe I have to start doing it so I have more pockets.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a dad hack, probably. If the more probably. Pockets, then the things you can keep in it, all the snacks and everything else that you need. Because one thing I've learned about being a dad is the more stuff, more areas you have to carry things. Like I now have a fanny pack, basically a man purse, because you need to put like a diaper and wipes in there. But before you're like, oh, why would I carry around a bag? Like I just got pockets in my pants. But it's the more space you have, the better.
Yeah. It's funny. I've got an SD card sitting on my desk, and that's got 128 gigabytes. And so that's how many hundred SD cards that I would have needed back in the day. So luckily those things are a little easier.
I have those floating around my house, and I don't know what's on them anymore. They're probably years. Some of them might have stuff from SF State when we were back shooting SF State stuff. I just every so often like open a drawer. I'm like, oh, SD. And not to mention, I've moved like different places along the West Coast, and I'm like, why do I still have this? But it's come in handy. I did some engagement photos for a friend once, and they're like, hey, do you? I was like, oh, I don't have them on my computer. But then I went and found around an SD card, and I was like, oh, hey, perfect. I still have them. So don't ever throw things away. Apparently,
exactly. And I was looking in through a drawer, and I found USB sticks. I'm like, oh, I don't even have a USB on this laptop.
I know you can't even use I had to get an attachment for all this stuff, technology. Like that's the other part of your job and everyone's job is how much things have changed. And in the last, I don't know, decade or so, how much
Yeah,
do you feel like things have just rapidly changed and you're just kind of always trying to catch up to the next thing that's coming next year?
for sure. Yeah.
Do you feel like we need more kids to get in, more students to get into the business side of what they're doing for athletics? Can you get these kids to buy in, even though they see these doors shutting at different athletics across the country?
Yeah, so I think everyone wants to be like social media influencer now, but
Oh yeah,
they need to realize that there's like actual work that needs to get done. Not to say that, that's not hard work sometimes, but there aren't enough jobs to support every single person being an influencer. Someone's got to do some of the grunt work. So people, I think come in thinking, "Hey, I want to do this glamorous job," but people need to also put in the work and understand how things work before they just hop in and get the cool stuff.
yeah. I mean, putting down foundation of things is, I think it's the same in every industry, and even for us, like you got to realize you're not going to jump in and make a bunch of money. I mean, I know that everyone could be making more money, but it's also like you're just not going to make it into like a top 25 market right off the bat. And people don't want to leave. I get it. You're in San Francisco, you grew up in the Bay Area, like it's hard to leave, but sometimes you got to take the plunge and just do it. And I think that was like one of the best things that I ever did was just pull the plug. I was comfortable in the Bay Area, and then I was like, let's go to Humboldt State, which without Humboldt State, we would not be friends.
Yeah, that's true.
That
Yeah.
was that was a great time. We softball. This you were part of the
Then
board, right? For then at
yeah, I
that
was on
point.
the NCAA softball committee, so we helped run the tournament and do the regional and national rankings.
Yeah, I mean, see, you never know what's going to happen because these all things go back. And you were at Dominican at that time, and then you took
Yeah.
over SF State. I was super pumped, and we've obviously stayed in touch and seen how everything goes. Now we put away sports this side because this isn't just a sports show. We all have other interests in life that we don't always get to scratch and talk about, but I know one for you is a big thing for you, Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I have a question. If you were
Okay.
plucked on the timeline of the Star Wars world, where would you want to be dropped into?
Oh man, it's a good question. I think right now, like after having watched Andor recently, probably right there at the beginning of the rebellion, or I guess right after they've blown up the second Death Star, when
Yeah.
people are kind of hopeful, and then we'll kind of forget that Episode 9 ever happened. So yeah, I would probably on the either the front or the back end of the original trilogy, I guess.
Did you are you one of those people that are deep in it where like you read books and stuff too, where you the extended universe you're well versed in?
So I wasn't really into the extended universe, but I was super into the toys and
Yeah.
yeah. So like I knew all those like all the weird characters in the canteen. I knew their names back in the day.
Okay.
I've forgotten a lot of them, but yeah, yeah. I still like a good random Star Wars story.
Do you collect the Black series? I think that's what it's called, right? The
I did
toys,
for a
the
while. I think between kids and my wife,
yeah.
having space for those isn't a thing anymore. My background's blurred, but I've got like a few Star Wars toys up on the shelf. So
Yeah, I have a Paz back here that I just was at Target. It's like, oh, that one's sick, so I get it. But I started collecting Marvel figures, and because I wanted to collect something, and I started doing the Marvel figures, but then they just became like they're big, right? And you don't
yeah,
really take them. I mean, I wasn't really taking them out of the boxes, and so they just became like more and more boxes. And then I decided now I'm going to collect cards, which I thought was going to be less space. In reality, it's probably more because now I just have a bunch of boxes everywhere, but there's
yeah,
just more cards in them. But we all need to find something to collect. I think even as we get older, or maybe it's just boys being dudes or dudes being boys, whatever you want to say. Like, I think collecting things still gives you a little bit of passion for something, right?
yeah, yeah. I'd switched to coffee table books because I thought that was
Oh,
like kind of like nicer and but now I've got shelves full of books. It seemed a little more adult, but I've still got a bunch of books that I still need to read and some that still have the plastic on them. So
what's the
one of
best
these
book
days
you
I'll get.
have?
I've got a bunch of those Taschen books, like like on James Bond, on Star Wars, like those making of kind of the art of books,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
some of the Disney stuff. So I've got a lot of those on the shelves.
That's
Some
good.
Marvel. Yeah.
And your son now is you and Nate. That's something you guys kind of do together. Disney and Star Wars. Is it just Disney or is it just Star Wars?
A little
Or
bit
is
of
it
both. We watched Skeleton Crew together, so he enjoyed
okay?
that. So that was cool to get some buy-in there. Didn't show him Andor, obviously, but yeah, he likes some of it. You know, he's got a lightsaber. He's played with some. I pulled out some of my old toys, and he grabbed R2D2. He's more into the Lego stuff, so
Okay.
he's put together quite a few. He did the Millennium Falcon, just the
Nice.
little $5 bag the other day.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
That's why we always saved all those things because, like, yeah, one day we're going to give them to people that are really going to appreciate it. And then we give them to our children and they appreciate it for about 5 minutes. And then
Yeah.
they're like, all right, I'm done with this. Get this out of my face. I don't want to see this again. Or, and then it'll be like months away. And they're like, hey, what happened to that toy that I had? I'm like, I don't know. You were supposed to take care of it.
Exactly.
Okay, so on that, I see all these podcasts. It's like the new thing, blind rankings, right? Like they do these little clips.
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna do these blind rankings for Disney Plus Star Wars series.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? So the
Sure.
first one we are gonna start.
How many? Do you tell me how many we're ranking, or
Yeah, 5.
5? Okay.
5. Yeah, we're gonna do blind ranking. Of these Star Wars series on Disney Plus. The first one I'm giving you is Mandalorian.
3.
3. Okay. Right
Yeah.
in there. If you subtracted the series seasons 2 and 3, where would it rank?
Probably 2.
Okay. All right. And then so since you said this, because it wasn't on my initial list because there's more than 5, obviously, but we'll do Skeleton Crew because you watched
I'm
that
gonna
with
put
your
that
son.
at 2.
You put that at 2?
I am, yeah.
All right. All right.
People might disagree with that, but I'm gonna put Ahsoka at. I don't know what else you're gonna give me, but I'm gonna put Ahsoka at 5.
Ahsoka at 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Skeleton Crew. Why do you think that's controversial? Let's go back. I'm sorry, I jumped on you a little bit.
I think a lot of people thought it was maybe a little too kiddie, but I think that was also part of the point.
Right.
I think it was nice because it was self-contained, and unlike Ahsoka, you don't have to watch 4 years of animated series to understand what's going on with half the show.
Yeah, that's true. I was just so hyped for that one that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot of them.
I enjoyed all of them.
I
think casually, I think it's not as good an experience for the casual Star Wars fan.
Right. Okay, before I get to my thought, we'll just keep going here because we don't want to break these up.
Okay.
Andor.
1.
Okay, 1. So we're
no
back.
doubt.
So I think you're going to be okay with this one because the last one I have is Obi-Wan.
Which I would have put,
at 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly what I would have picked anyway. So yeah.
Yay! And so now we see this, because I'm going to make a thing. It's going to be cool. It's all going to look good, and it's going to make sense. So that's good. I appreciate that list. I think that's pretty good. I probably haven't seen Skeleton Crew. I'm still a big believer in Mandalorian, so it probably would be 2 for me. And I think Andor, though I'm not through Andor, I'm pretty deep into it though. I think it's going to stay there at number 1.
Yeah.
Though what I was going to say is here, I think people take Star Wars and Marvel, and I think we're going to see with Harry Potter when they do this all reboot and stuff. Guys, let's relax. We are not talking about some brilliant television and TV or movies. They don't all have to be groundbreaking. Let's just enjoy these things. Can you be with me on this, or do you need me to be a little bit more of a critic?
No, I'm with you. It should be fun, and people get hung up on the weirdest things. Something didn't match here or there, which I've done that from time to time because I'm pretty detail oriented. But I think, and that's why I think I put Skeleton Crew so high. It was just fun TV.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like it's like, oh, this Marvel, and I know there's this whole Marvel fatigue or Star Wars fatigue because there is just things just being pumped out more and more. But at one point in our lives, we were like, dude, give us more, especially with Star Wars, because it was always just like, oh, just a movie every 4 years or whatever it was. Yeah. Now we get it. And now everyone's like, oh, I don't want it. But then if we went back, like it's one of those things, the cat's out of the bag. I think we just want more, and you just should accept it and enjoy it, because at some point, maybe we'll run out of ideas.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I wanted a Star Wars shirt so bad, and you can just go to the store and buy something. My buddy went to Disney World and brought a Yoda shirt back for me, and I think I wore it until it had holes in it, literally. And now you can just go pick whatever you want or order whatever you want, and I'm sure Nate has like 4 different Star Wars shirts. Like he could go a whole week, and
I, yeah,
yeah,
I can't believe how easy it is to get things. Like just because we have a Yoda like onesie for our baby, like that was just at Target. Like one
yeah,
day I was at Target and I was like, oh, it's here, and it was a random Tuesday that has nothing to do with any release because you used to be you only
yeah,
got the merch around the release, right? Like there
yeah,
was only those things, and now it's just year round that you could just get anything.
yeah,
It's just the world is at your fingertips because it's on your phone.
yeah,
I don't think people realize just how good our life is.
yeah. Up
You
until
know,
recently, I mean, unless it's really limited, like you can just order it online or pre-order it, and it'll show
yeah.
up when it's scheduled to. We used to have to go to Toys R Us and show up and line up outside if you wanted certain action figures. So,
Dude, or get in line for the Harry Potter books.
yeah,
Like all those things. And now you can just do it pre-order, or sometimes it's kind of cool when there are the limited releases and you have to get out there and kind of do the old things. But for the most part, you just get whatever you want. And this segues perfectly because we were on our way to the Giants game. My 3-year-old and I, Cameron, we were at the Van Ness station, and she goes, "What is that?" I said, "That's a payphone, darling. That is what we used to have to find if we needed to make a phone call to our parents after said movie or anything." And she's like, "Well, why would you have to do that?" I don't know, kid. Like that's just how the world was. And now we get to our fun part of this. The mic is open. Dad advice. If you had one advice for yourself going into, either your first child or now that you have two, what would it be right now?
it's a good question. I think just don't buy so much stuff at the beginning when the kid is born. You think you need every single thing, right?
Yeah.
Like oh, they need this, they need this carrier, they need that stroller, they need. Then suddenly you've got 4 strollers or something. Because people gave us stuff we bought. So I think we actually do have 3 strollers right now, and we use 1.5 maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll give those to folks when it's time. But
We
yeah, I
have
think
the
we don't.
compact one, and then we have a wagon. We don't even have a normal
Yeah,
like stroller anymore.
we have a jogger, one that folds up nicely, and then the one that used to be the bassinet, but that thing's huge.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so I think realizing that kids don't need quite as much stuff as is marketed to us.
Yeah.
It's the same thing because we collected all those things as kids, so you're like, oh, we need all that stuff, but we
Yep.
really don't.
I think I would tell myself, going into your second child, you are about to just get blown off the door. Like, I don't think I was super prepared for how much a second child kind of changes everything.
Yeah, for
Because,
sure.
first child, we're in a sports world. You're playing kind of coverage 2-on-1, which is great. Great. Man to man, different story. And then that's why I couldn't even think about three because now you have two against
Yeah,
three and
two
your
versus
your
yeah.
life's over.
You're losing the numbers game, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And yeah, it's tough because our 5-year-old, he's he wanted the 1-year-old to share a room with him, and we're like, okay, cool, because
Yeah.
she's gonna have to at some point. But then she's been teething lately, so it's
Yep.
that delicate game of, well, we don't want her to wake him up when she's screaming at the top of her lungs, and thank
Oh,
God he sleeps pretty hard. But yeah, then we got to go pick her up. But then it's like had it been him by himself, we'd have been like, okay, cool, cry it out. But
yep.
like
Yeah.
consoling
Hey,
her, picking her up, and now she's used to that, and we've got to figure out what to do now.
dude, right there with you. Where ours are 3.5 and 1, and Brooke, the 1-year-old, is kind of right in there. She's teething. We're also trying to transition her to a one nap. She was a sick, so Cameron sleeps pretty well. But then last couple nights, Brooke up and down, and so then it's like, okay, do we go in there and we settle Brooke down? But then we're creating bad habits, right? You're creating
Yeah,
bad habits. Creating bad habits is like always something that is just taunting you in the back of your head. It's like you're gonna regret this. But then
yeah,
if you think about it, Cameron was a great sleeper all through the night, blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden her imagination got the best of her, and the kids start imagining the scene. Then she just wasn't a great sleeper because she had all these bad dreams. So it's just like whatever you do, you're going to have to adapt and change no matter what,
Oh, for sure.
anyways. So it's almost like just do whatever's best in that moment for that week, whatever that month, because you're gonna have to change anyways, right?
Yeah, exactly. We we want to get rid of the pacifier, but we also we would like some sleep at some point. So it's it's that gentle balance of, do you give in or do you sacrifice? How much are you willing to sacrifice?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that goes back always, but our generation I think is a little bit more willing to be present. So like after work, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go home, and then you're like, well, gotta clock in again, let it go. And so I think that's also been, working dads and working moms. That's the thing is like you never really have days off. You don't really have half days off. You also don't have real days off because even on the weekends you're doing things and you got family stuff to do. So I think it's just like you're constantly going. And I don't know about you, but I don't think I ever feel rested.
No. Even when I'm like, oh, I got a good night's sleep, I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, still dreading something.
You're like, oh, I got 6 hours. I got 5 hours of consistent sleep. Now I'm ready to go. And then it's like halfway through the day and you're like, no, I'm still not ready to do this. Really still getting banged up. Yeah, man. But dad life is good life. I mean, sure. I know you're the same way as I am, taking your kids to like sporting events or different events, whatever, going to the movies. Like those are the rewarding parts of when everything seems like, oh man, are we going to get through this? You have those moments and you're very thankful for what has been given to you.
Yeah. I got to go on a field trip with the TK class yesterday over to the city. So that was a nice break from having a grind of the last several months. So
yeah, and they don't care, right? Like, we've heard it lately more with professional athletes is like, oh, it doesn't matter if they have a good game or a bad game, but it's kind of same with us. We just don't have a press conference to talk about it after. But even if we're having a bad day at work, or you're having the stressful times where you're not sure if what the athletic situation is going to be, there's times where I'm like, I don't know if I have a job. They don't care though, and you just have to be there. And I think it also teaches you what really matters, and it kind of teaches you some sort of real balance that it also lifts you up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it keeps you honest too, because I was on my phone and he's like, "Get off your phone so you can read to me." I'm like, "Oh yeah, all right."
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy. Yeah, Cameron does the same thing. She's like, "You're not supposed to be on your phone right now." I was like, "You're right. I'm not supposed to be on my phone right now." And they're just so smart. I think they're way smarter than we were.
Yeah, they pay attention to everything, whether we realize it or not.
You catch it. And when you're listening or whatever, and even if they're playing off in their imagination land, you catch something that is definitely from you, and you're like, ooh, or ooh, that's good, or ooh, not good. I got to work on that. So it's just the constant battle of like being in it.
For sure.
All right, well, let's wrap up this open mic. Now that we've talked for about, I don't know, 40 minutes or so, is there anything else you need to get off your chest? Are we good? Can we close up shop and say, good one in the books?
Yeah, I think it's solid. Yeah.
All right, man. Yeah, of course. Well, hopefully this gets out, and hopefully we can talk about Division II athletics. I think it's a big thing. I think kids need it. Athletes need it. It's not just all D1. It's not all the money that's involved. D2 is definitely a place for student athletes to go. And so I wanted to get this in there and make sure that we are showcasing what can still be without all the dollar bills.